Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Dakota's Political Circle. And today I want to talk about how Pete Hegseth, or Hegseth, I can't say his name exactly, but he had an absolute masterclass today with his hearing. So he had the Senate hearings, the Senate hearings that happen for everyone in the cabinet that basically they basically interview you in a way, like several senators, almost all the senators, certain ones will interview you, and just to see basically what what they want to get out of you, kind of just see if you're a good person, see if you're worth the vote and confidence. And Pete Hegseth, or Hegseth, I can't if I mess up his name, I'm sorry, but Pete was, a lot of people were worried because of his background of possible sexual assault allegations and a lot of other stuff. So people were really, really worried about him, especially on the Republican side. But a lot of those allegations have been proven false. So luckily, during this hearing, he got to basically say how he wanted to feel and tell people why he's qualified for the job. And it's really interesting because he was a master class in how he responded to adversity. It's really crazy to just what I'm going to actually show you, just to show you what the Dems were saying to him and just how he'd respond. It just shows he is a Trump guy, and he is definitely good for the job, especially with certain answers he actually ended up saying. So he is definitely worthy of being a Secretary of Defense. And it is expected, just like you see on the screen, it's expected he will be confirmed now, because after this hearing happened, a lot of people actually want to confirm him now on the Republican side because they see he's actually worth the vote of confidence. But I'll show you certain ones that happened, like the Dem side, but also the Republican side, that show he's a really, really good, he could be a really, really good Secretary of Defense. But also just to show you how delusional Dems were and how much they just wanted to get something out of him, like basically get a reaction or just to berate him. Kind of like Brett Kavanaugh, when they used to berate Brett Kavanaugh for no apparent reason, even though he was a really, really great person. But let me show you right here. So let's get into each one. This is probably the worst one by far. So Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, which in my opinion, I used to really admire, at least a little bit. I used to admire Kirsten Gillibrand, at least a little bit. I wouldn't say I was a big admirable person to her, but I did used to admire her as a senator. Like probably a couple years ago, but nowadays she's just going downhill, slamming people for just basically stupid things. And she basically slammed on her desk and yelled at Pete, and because she couldn't get a coherent sentence or topic out, and she couldn't really question him about anything relevant to the job. So she just wanted to berate him, hate on him, and literally just, tell him how idiotic he is and how much a dewomanizer he is. Like someone that's just absolutely, it's something that's just absolutely asinine to hear from a senator. That's just crazy. And I'll actually show you the video right here just to show you how much of an idiot she was and how much Pete just took it so well. So let me show you right here. Let's start from the beginning.
In the DOD, everything you've said in these public statements is politics. I don't want women. I don't want moms. What's wrong with a mom, by the way? Once you have babies, you therefore are no longer able to be lethal. I mean, you're basically saying women, after they have children, can't ever serve in the military in a combat role. It's a silly thing to say. It's a silly thing to say, beneath the position that you are aspiring to. To denigrate LGBTQ service members is a mistake. If you are a sharpshooter, you're as lethal regardless of what your gender identity is, regardless of who you love. So please know this to be a true statement. So you say it was a political thing. You say it undermined us, social engineering. I don't know why someone having to publicly say or not publicly say who they love is social engineering. I think in the DOD,
so she was just criticizing him over so many things, and not really even asking him questions. Like, she was just criticizing him for his statements of his past. And he specifically said during several of the interviews, he basically said that the reason he doesn't want like women in combat roles is because men are more physically like actually able to do the job, which makes sense. But he was saying how, I mean, you have to be held up to the same standard. Like if you have to, no matter what, if you're a woman, you should be held up to the same standard, no matter what in the military, which completely makes sense. But they don't see it like that. They see it as like, you're just you like saying women can't do this, women can't do that, which makes sense. I mean, women, a lot of women are not as strong as men, which makes sense. But that doesn't mean that we should be giving them leeway with the army or the military. It just wouldn't make sense. And with the LGBTQ thing, I mean, he mentioned that as well. It's just she's just more or less just berating him and just not really asking him a coherent message or anything like that. Let me get to the next one now. So this was Tammy Ducksworth. He's the Democrat for Illinois. She was saying how he's not earned his place of the Secretary of Defense, and saying you want to keep forces strong, then let's not lower our standards for you. You're a no-go. So she was just, this is literally what the Democrats have been doing today, just literally trashing him for literally no reason. And he literally smiled when she was saying that. And let me actually show you the video here.
Women who've earned their place in their units. You have not earned your place as Secretary of Defense. You say you care about keeping our armed forces strong and that you like that our armed forces are meritocracy, then let's not lower the standards for you. You, sir, are a no-go at this station.
So basically, she's just criticizing him for literally nothing, like just criticizing him because of his past statements. That's literally it, and it's just absurd. And here's another one. This was Elizabeth Warren. I'll show you Elizabeth Warren. Well, actually, I won't show you the video because it is a little bit long, but I will read basically what she said. And then I also have another one, so I might have to have a cut here. But I also want to show one that's really, really annoying that came up, which is completely insane that happened. But let me talk about this one first. So Elizabeth Warren was lecturing Pete on his comments on women being in combat roles and literally refusing to let him answer anything. So she was saying, help me understand what extraordinary event happened in 32-day period that made you change the core values you have expressed opposing women in combat roles. Hegseth said, this issue has always been about standards. Then she interrupts him. Let's just stop right there. I'm quoting you. What changed? And then he says, the concerns I have are in pursuit of quotas. Standards have been changed. And then she interrupts him. You got a nomination from President Trump. I've heard the deathbed conversion, but this is the first time I've heard a nomination conversion. So she's just criticizing him and won't actually let him answer, which literally doesn't make any sense because he's trying to plead his case. I mean, you're literally trying to get these people to nominate you, and you should explain to them exactly why you should be nominated. And she just wants to, stop him in his tracks, trying to not get an answer out of him, which is just, asinine. Okay, let me show you the next one now. Okay, here's the next one. I had to do a little cut because I didn't have it up yet. So just to summarize what this is about. So Tim Kaine was basically trying to attack Pete's daughter, and basically Pete wasn't having it. And he was just, berating his daughter and just not even talking about the nomination itself. He's just, criticizing him, criticizing his family. He is more or less just taking it out on everything but his nomination, which is insane. Especially, that's really low for someone like Tim Kaine. That's just insane to see for a senator of his caliber. Because you would think that Tim Kaine, someone that's been in the Senate for a very, very long time, wouldn't be saying the most disrespectful things, like criticizing someone and then talking about their own daughter just to attack them. That's just crazy to me. That's insane. And I'll show you exactly what he said. This Tim Kaine, literally, he should resign for saying something like this. He's an idiot if you even bring up a family member. Like, that's just insane to me. But let me just show you what he said here.
Can you so casually cheat on a second wife and cheat on the mother of a child that had been born 2 months before, and you tell us you are completely cleared? Senator, how is that a complete clear? Senator, her child's name is Gwendolyn Hope Hegseth, and she's a child of God, and she's 7 years old. And she was, and you cheated on the mother of that child less than 2 months after that daughter was born, didn't you?
Those were false charges.
Well,
It was fully investigated, and I was completely cleared. And I
Completely cleared. Can you so?
Yeah, he was basically talking about his daughter, and basically saying, "Oh, you cheated on you basically cheated on your wife," and just talking about his daughter as well, and then also at the same time just acting like the accusations are actually true, even though it was investigated that it wasn't even true to begin with. So he just brings on a false narrative that something like that actually happened, which it didn't at all. And then also he goes on just to trash, and in a way just trash his family. And it's just insane to see from someone like Tim Kaine, someone you would think would at least be more respectable than that. Which is it's just crazy to see something like that in a Senate nomination. Let me go to the next one now. So these ones are actually good ones. So thank goodness these are good ones. But it's because the Republicans actually have a good standard. But let me show you exactly what happened here. So Tom Cotton, he was saying, do you support Israel's war in Gaza? And Pete basically said, I support Israel destroying and killing every last member of Hamas, which is an incredible statement. It is exactly what we want to hear from the Secretary of Defense, which I'll actually show you exactly what he said, but he basically said that. Let me show you right here.
Support Israel's war in Gaza. I support Israel's existential war in Gaza. I assume, like me and President Trump, you support that war as well, don't you?
Senator, I do. I support Israel destroying and killing every last member of Hamas.
And the third protester said something about 20 years of genocide. I assume that's our wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Do you think our troops are committing genocide in Iraq and Afghanistan?
Senator, I do not. I think our troops, as you know, as so many in this committee know, did the best they could with what they had.
Support Israel's.
So he was just, basically what I said. He was just saying how we should not support Hamas. We should support Israel destroying every single member of Hamas, which is exactly what we want to hear from this from a Secretary of Defense. And let's get to the last one here. So this was actually kind of cool. So out of all the criticizing from the Dems, he wanted to basically be funny in this Senate nomination and just. Well, not it's not the nomination, but the Senate confirmation hearing and stuff like that. So basically, Tim Sheehy wanted to ask basic questions because he just wanted to just be a little bit funny and just lighten up the room and stuff, which is exactly what we need to do, and not do exactly what the Dems were doing, which was completely criticizing Pete for nothing that was even factual. But here's some things here just to show you, and I'll also show you the video as well. Actually, I won't be able to show you the video. It's a little bit too long, but I will show you exactly what he said. So he was saying, how many genders are there? It's Pete said 2. She said, I know that well. I'm a she-he. So he just wanted to be funny and say she-he because it's a she-he. Then he said, what is the diameter of a rifle round fired out of an M4A1? And it's a 5.56. So Pete obviously knows his weaponry. He said, how many push-ups you can do? He said, I can do 5 sets of 47. And then he said, most important strategic base in the Pacific. He said, Guam. He said, how many rounds is 5.56 can you fit in the magazine? He said, standard issue is 30. He said, what size round is M9 Beretta standard issue sidearm for the military? He said, 9mm. And he said, what kind of battery do you put in your night vision goggles? Duracell. He said, you represent what warfighters deal with every single day on the battlefield. You understand them. What happens is decisions made in rooms like this cause dad, 17, 18, 19-year-old Americans. Your priority is warfighters. I support you. So he had an amazing response when it came to that. And I'm just really, really glad he ended up saying that. It's really awesome to see on the Republican side how much support Pete actually has. So it's very nice to see someone like that just come out of there and actually show a massive amount of support for him and just actually ask him questions that a Secretary of Defense should know. I guarantee you if you asked Biden's Secretary of Defense any of those questions, basically they wouldn't have an answer, or they would get offended by certain answers. So more or less, this is exactly who we need for Secretary of Defense. And now after the confirmation hearing, it's expected he's actually going to be confirmed, which was, something that wasn't expected at first because of his allegations of the past and stuff like that. So it is good that a lot of these allegations have been proven false, and also that during the confirmation hearing, everyone could hear him out. So all the Republicans, from what I know, are supporting him, other than a couple, probably Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski. Those are probably the only two that are going to stick out. But it is good to hear that Pete had a great hearing, besides the Dems just berating him. But he did have a great comeback with everything he just pushed there. But he is expected to actually be confirmed. The only other two I would say I'd be a little worried about is probably RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard. Those are the only other two I would say have a harder chance. Well, I wouldn't say a harder chance than Pete, but I would say they're going to have a little bit more challenging to, get Republican support, since they're not Republicans themselves. I mean, like, at first they weren't Republicans, but I think they can win them over. I think Pete was kind of the hardest one at this point, since he had more allegations than actual, background of not being a Republican. But next, when the confirmations do end up happening, I might maybe post a couple, possibly. That'll be after January 20th, most likely. I'll definitely post about the confirmation hearing about Tulsi and RFK Jr., because those are some big ones, since they need to be confirmed. When it comes to RFK Jr., I think he'll be the most challenging out of the two, mainly because he's an independent, and he has some controversial claims when it comes to a lot of stuff, which I don't think are controversial, but other people do. With Tulsi, I think she might be able to garner some Democrat support, maybe Bernie Sanders or something like that. I'm not too worried about Tulsi. I'm mainly worried about RFK Jr. And I was really worried about Pete, but luckily he is expected to be confirmed. So I did want to tell you guys about that. But anyway, guys, I just wanted to bring up how Pete is expected to be confirmed, but I also wanted to talk about how he just, went off on all the Dems in the Senate confirmation hearing. But anyway, guys, I just want to talk to you about this today, since there wasn't much else to talk about. But yeah, my next video, I'm not sure when it'll be out. It might be the 21st, maybe. But if I do figure out something before that, I'll definitely post something else. But we'll see. But anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.